Okay, so this next question is from Jason from Denver. And Jason says, hi, Mark. I've only completed sessions 1 and 2 of the training, so apologies if you will get to this. But some smokers come in and don't believe it's possible that they can stop in just 1 session. Perhaps you could address how to work with this belief. Okay. And I mean, personally, I don't find that tends to be a huge problem, or not many smokers kind of express too much doubt about that. But it certainly can happen. And I guess it doesn't happen too much for me now because I have seen so many smokers who've stopped in 1 session, and many of them are referrals from people they know who've stopped smoking with me. So it's kind of what they expect. But I like to work quickly with smokers. Okay, so I'll suggest that many people can escape smoking, very quickly once the prison door is unlocked. That many people can stop after 1 session, but there's always the exception, but many people can. So this uses the rule of many, to help a person feel it's actually more natural to stop in 1 session than in multiple sessions. And it's a bit like with PTSD, with post-traumatic stress disorder. People can be, express skepticism that you can help lift their post-traumatic stress disorder, especially from a one-off trauma, in 1 session. And you can say, well, how long did it take you to become traumatized? It may have been a 30-second car crash, okay, or it may have been a 3-minute assault or 10-minute assault, and you learned that very, very deeply and very quickly, that trauma, that PTSD, and your brain learned to have flashbacks and nightmares for 30 years, okay, in just a few seconds or a few minutes. Okay, so us spending an hour on this, the brain learns very, very fast. Okay, but in a way, with the smoking, it may only be 1 session with you, but they've had lots of instances in the lead up to seeing you quite often, unless someone else has dragged them along to see you. So maybe over several years they've started to doubt the relationship. Started to question whether smoking really is for them. So there's lots of the work happens before they come and see you, in a sense, and you can reassure them of that. Times when they wanted to leave the relationship and to quit and walk away from it. When they come and see you, they have on one level already decided to leave smoking, and that may have been quite a lot of sort of unconscious preparation they've been doing. And all you're doing is helping them break away. You're the sort of tipping point at which it can actually happen, in the moment. So, if they want to draw it out, in a way, it's like, the person who's stuck in a relationship with someone who's agreed to separate but keeps telling them, okay, not yet, we will separate, but, I can't move out at the moment. And, and you think that actually when the decision's been made, we really don't need any more excuses. Okay. So they've already decided to leave, and all the session does is make them feel easier about it. Okay. So, once a prison door is open, there's no point in just sitting there. Okay. Especially if the executioner may still be wandering around. Okay. Which is an analogy I might use with a client, in or out of trance. But the time is now, because it's always later than you think. So the thing is, with optimistic distortion, smoking is a very now-centered thing. Okay, so when you smoke, there's only now. If you tell a 16-year-old smoker that by the time he's 40, his lungs are going to be terrible, his sexual prowess will be, sort of dented, he'll look older than 40 to a 16-year-old is like talking about the other side of the moon. Such a long way away. And smoking is all about now. It's a greed instinct. It's a now is all that matters. I want it, and I want it now, and nothing else matters. Okay, so even talking about next year might not have an effect, which is why part of our hypnotic work needs to enable the person to have a greater sense of unconscious urgency about about escaping. So if you watch the session where I help Linda stop her 20-a-day habit, I talk about, when she's nicely entranced, I talk about the straw that broke the camel's back, okay, which is a well-worn metaphor, and many people are familiar with it already. Okay, so the fact is that when you smoke a cigarette, unless it's your very first cigarette, you never just smoke one cigarette. That's an illusion, smoking one cigarette. I'll just have one cigarette. One cigarette won't hurt. One cigarette won't kill me. But if you think about it logically, there's always a tipping point. If somebody does fall into irreparable damage from their smoking, it will be one cigarette that kind of tips them over into that edge. Okay, you don't know what that cigarette's going to look like. It's going to look like all the others probably, and it's going to taste like the others, and it might even be one you don't even particularly enjoy, and you might have sort of smoked it absent-mindedly, but it's the one on top of all the tens of thousands of other cigarettes that you ever smoked in your life, you ever allowed into yourself, that will do the irreparable damage. Okay, and then it's a sort of pathway to regret, really. Okay, so so I might suggest, to recap to someone that they've allowed tens of thousands of cigarettes into themselves over the years, and if they could see all those cigarettes together in a giant mountain, like a pile or a pyre of cigarettes, what would all those cigarettes smell like? And quite often the smoker will kind of wrinkle up their nose in disgust. And what would all those rotten cigarettes from the past 20 years look like together in one pile? All the ones you'd ever allowed into yourself. Okay. And when you smoke one, you're never just smoking that one. You're smoking that one on top of all those others. And the more you place cigarettes on top of that mountain, the more unstable that mountain becomes. And you maybe even sense it. Maybe that's why you're here, because you started to sense it getting more unstable. And you just don't know which one it's going to be that's going to topple all of that over and bury everything. Okay, but it's that one that tips everything over and ruins everything. And it could be the next one you were going to have if you hadn't come to see me. It could be one in a week's time or a month's time. But there is one, that has people's name on it. Okay. And people do get buried by their own mountains all the time. Okay, 1 billion people are predicted to be buried by their own mountain of cigarettes in the 21st century. Okay, by all the cigarettes that they've ever smoked. Okay, so it's just one straw, just one cigarette placed. That straw placed on all the other straws breaks the camel's back. But how wonderful to get rid of that before it's too late. If someone is dilly-dallying about stopping, what they need supplied to their unconscious mind is a sense of urgency. As a thought experiment, and I wouldn't necessarily say this to a client, but if someone knew for certain that the very next cigarette could kill them as certainly as swallowing a cyanide capsule would kill them, instantly, okay, then where would that physical addiction go for a start? Okay, and how many sessions would they then think that they needed to quit to escape that? So although we're indirectly treating smoking, we're not doing away. We want to get the person connected to their future selves, because smoking hypnotizes people into the present, and they're just living in the moment. And tomorrow be damned. And we want to give them a wider context, not consciously, but within their unconscious mind, so that this one that I'm smoking now is connected to all the ones I've ever smoked, and in some ways connected to the last one that I'll ever be able to smoke, and it might even be this one. So that's kind of what we want to embed and imbue. And you'll see me doing that with Linda in the video.